Steps to use the quadratic formula to solve questions in number 7 are going to be shown. If you need to, please pause the video to have a look at the steps in more detail. The quadratic equation is shown. Please make sure that when you work with the quadratic equation, you always make it set to equal 0. It must be equal 0 before the formula will work. Next, make sure that you extract the values for a, b, and c in the right order. Make sure you watch the signs. This is the quadratic formula. You will be seeing a lot of it in this video. Next, substitute your values for a, b, and c, making sure that you are very careful with the signs and your arithmetic. Notice that either a or c is negative. In this case, when I subtract a negative number, it will become positive. Be careful with each step as you simplify. At the very end, please look at your radical, that is, the expression under the square root sign, to make sure that it does not simplify any further. 57 does not have any perfect squares that will divide into it, so therefore this is the simplest form of the solution for x. Again, notice that c is negative while a is positive, so when I subtract a negative number, 4ac ends up adding 48. Check if 192 is divisible by a perfect square. I happen to know that 16 will divide into it. It is the square root of 16 times the square root of 12. I replace the square root of 16 with 4. "12, 4, and 8 are all divisible by 4, so I'm going to simplify by dividing each term by 4. But notice that 12 is 4 times 3. 4 is a perfect square, so that I can simplify it as well. I replace the square root of 4 with 2, and finally get to my simplified solution. Part C is kind of messy, so I'm going to simplify it by multiplying everything by 100. This will get rid of my decimal points. When I do this, I see that 25x squared and 9 are perfect squares, so I'm going to see if this will be a perfect square. I square root the 25x to get 5x, and I square root the 9 to get 3. I pick up the negative sign that's on the negative 30. Next, I check that 5x times 5x gives me the 25x squared. I check again that negative 3 times negative 3 equals positive 9. Next, I check the outside and the inside terms of FOIL to make sure they add up to negative 30x. Next, I apply my zero product rule to solve for x. There is only one solution, x equals 3/5. Okay, suppose you wanted to use the quadratic formula. I will show you the steps, but I'm pretty sure you won't want to do it, and you would rather use Wolframalpha. Notice that under the radical sign, I'm going to get 900 take away 900, or 0. This is why we only get one solution. Okay, last one coming up. This is an interesting one. When I work out the radical, unlike the previous example where the square root was 0, this time we're going to get a square root of a negative number. There is no way in the real number system to square a number and have it become negative. Even though the square root of -104 does not exist as a real number, it does exist under the complex number system, and we end up inventing, or at least mathematicians end up inventing, imaginary numbers. In the last minute of this video, we're going to show you how to do the previous questions using Wolframalpha. To use Wolframalpha correctly, type in the word solve and then your equation. Wolframalpha will do the best it can to solve your equation and give you the steps. I am showing you only the relevant part of the screenshots that match the equations. Notice the solutions for x show a letter I in there. The I stands for the square root of -1 and represents an imaginary number. I'm in GeoGebra right now, and I'm using it to graph the parabola. Notice that the parabola does not cross the x-axis. That is why we have no solution.